and welcome to the Hustle and Honey podcast, where we discuss the sweetness, struggle, and success of running your own business. We're your co-host, Jen, and I'm joined with Meesh today. And we are talking to Dr. Katherine Schneller of Inclusive Natural Medicine about her why, starting a medical practice, and the importance of a referral-based business. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Katie.
Katie, Meesh, Katie.
Hi.
No, so we just want to have a space for like creatives and entrepreneurs to share kind of like that process of what it's like to start from scratch and just kind of get some insight there. So if there's anything that comes up that you think of like right away, obviously bring that up, but I'll have some questions that we'll go through. If you want to introduce yourself,
Sure.
if you want to tell us who you are and what you do.
Sure. I am Dr. Katie Schneller, and I am the owner and main naturopathic physician at a naturopathic clinic here called Inclusive Natural Medicine, and it is located in Tempe, Arizona. That's it. That's my intro, I guess.
That's it. Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. So how long, I mean, obviously I know these answers because I know you,
Right.
but how long has your practice been up and running, and when did you start? Give us a little bit of background.
Yeah, I've had Inclusive Natural Medicine since October of 2018. I began it then, but for the first few years, was operating under other practices. So I was trying to like sub-brand, which was really difficult. And then in February of 2022, I went out on my own and opened up my own doors.
Yes.
You could see like a little bit of the logo back there.
Yes, it's official. You have your own space. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can just start with, what is your why? Why did you want to start your own practice? Like why? Yeah. All the whys.
Yeah. I was passionate about helping a particular group of people, which initially started out with the LGBTQIA community, because in med school, I learned how disadvantaged and, dare I use the word, traumatized people from that community were with their current providers. And so I wanted to give everyone a really safe space. I am a member of the queer community myself, and so I took it personally, It then kind of, as practice went along, it became apparent that it's not just members of the queer community, but it is everyone who is mistreated by their healthcare provider and not believed or listened to or given enough time to discuss their concerns or have their questions answered. So inclusive natural medicine has become more still an all-inclusive space, hence the name, but it is not necessarily just specifically targeted towards anyone under the LGBTQIA plus umbrella, but really anyone who feels like they want a doctor to actually listen to them and believe what they're saying.
Shocking.
Yeah. I know. What a concept.
So yeah. Okay. I love that. I love that story of your why, because I feel like that's so relevant and something that I'm so grateful to know that exists in the world, that like we have options and we have care providers who care. And yeah, it's great. So into the businessy side of things, tell us a little bit about getting started, maybe some of how, just kind of like how you got started, what that process was like. I know you mentioned working for or like at other places to kind of like build your structure to be on your own, but like how did you do that? How did you get on your own?
Yeah, it was rough. I mean, it wasn't, there's no manual for this. There's not really in general for, I think, any entrepreneur. Like, this is how you do this, and these are the companies that you use for this, and so on and so forth. And I had a little bit of practice being under other doctors or working with other doctors when I first graduated, but I wasn't given a lot of background as to like, this is how we're doing this, and these are the people that we use, and these are our reps for this, so on and so forth. So, and then of course, when you're in med school, like, you don't learn business, you learn medicine. And so when you're a naturopathic doctor, you have to decide where you want to work, whether you want to do a residency, but if you go out on your own, that's it. Here's your paper for science and healthcare, and that, you have to figure everything else out yourself. So when I opened Inclusive in February of 2022, there was a lot that I had to figure out. At this point, it's funny because of how difficult it was. I can see how business owners get stuck in their ways of like, these are the companies that I use for this. These are the products that I use for this. You have your go-tos, right? Because you're used to the flow of that. So when anybody new comes in, even if they have something really great, it's really difficult for me to transition because I'm like, I don't know. I don't know the process. I don't want to change things. I don't want to have to deal with anybody new. I'm stuck in my ways, so to speak, and in some areas of practice. But I have 2 full-time naturopathic doctors joining the practice here in July, and then the second in September. And so that's going to come with a lot of change too. And I'm sure that would be a whole other podcast about, what to do when you're hiring other people. Cause right now I work for myself, which is great, but all I have to worry about is myself. So.
Right. Yeah, that definitely is something, because I think a lot of the people that we have talked to and that we have lined up to speak to, a lot of them are like the one-man show, and it's like they're doing everything, which is like also really great because you kind of, I think that when you have your own business, you kind of do have to know how all the parts work so you can manage it correctly, even when you are ready to like hire more people on. Right. But we'll want an update because hiring people sounds overwhelming.
Well, I have my assistant, which thank goodness for her, because I would not be able to be as busy as I am now. But it's, as far as the medical practice stuff goes, it's just me here right now, but it's about to not be. So keep you posted.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Meesh, I don't know if you want to ask any questions on here too. I have like the list of questions that I've been using, but if anything comes up for you, just shout.
Yeah, it sounds like when I hopped in, you were talking about like who you serve in the community. But I'm curious, like how did you decide that this was the thing?
As far as just this form of medicine?
Yeah, like what you wanted to do.
Yeah. So my mom is a social worker, and she's she's been a therapist for a long time. When I was in college studying neuroscience, I worked at a psychiatrist's office, and I saw hundreds of patients a week come in looking, kind of desperate, excited maybe to see their doctor. And then their doctor's 30 minutes behind, spends 10 to 15 minutes with him in a med check appointment to discuss, okay, is the pill working? No. Okay, bye. And then they would leave looking sadder and worse off than they did before they came to their appointment. And it broke my heart. I thought, this can't be it. This can't be the only field of medicine that exists and that really helps people. And so one day after I graduated with my degree, I looked up natural medicine. I didn't know what it was called. I'm from Indiana. That's not a thing out in the Midwest. So when I found it, I was like, oh, that. And that's why I'm in Arizona now, is because we have the widest scope out here. So there is a time and a place for pharmaceutical medications, and I do utilize them. We have the ability to call in any prescription up to Schedule 2 non-narcotics. So we do all your hormones, your antibiotics, all that stuff. But then we also have acupuncture and cupping and herbal medicine and homeopathy. We're trained in physical manipulation like chiropractors are. I mean, we have so many tools in our belt. So it feels better for me to be able to have a variety of different things to be able to help somebody, instead of just, well, we'll try this pill. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, we'll try this other pill. Oh, that didn't work. Or it gave you a side effect of a headache or diarrhea, right? I'll give you a pill for those side effects. I wanted to actually help people. And one of the foundations of naturopathic medicine is the belief that the body has the ability to heal itself. So I wanted to support that and not just suppress symptoms. I have always thought that was backwards.
Yeah, from there, I feel like kind of jumping into the definition of success, because I feel like from that, it's like, I see that you're helping people. I know that very well. So I feel like from the outside, it looks like you're successful, but like, I'm curious what your definition of success for yourself is, and like kind of what standard you hold yourself to.
Yeah, it's a really good question, because it's honestly not something I thought about until I opened my own practice last year, because I people were like, man, you've made it, you open your own place. That's so cool. And I was like, oh, like, I guess I did succeed or achieve this thing. Like, am I done now? I think that it's really important for everybody, no matter what field you're in, to define what success means for you, so that you know when you've achieved it, because otherwise you just keep going and going and going and expanding and expanding. And like, while I also believe that's the point of life, is continued expansion and learning, at what point do you decide you're done? Like, am I gonna, I've thought about opening another location at some point. And so am I successful then? Um, it's a hard question. I don't know that I have a solid answer for you. I know that when I was at a baby shower last weekend, or a few weekends ago, somebody came up to me and said, "Oh, you're Dr. Katie, right?" And I was like, yeah, who are you? And they're like, "I'm on your schedule next week." And I was like, okay, that's cool. Like, people know who I am. They're on my schedule, and I don't know them. It's not something that I had to work really hard to convince somebody to come see me. I think in a lot of ways I've already achieved success, because my books are booked out a few weeks, right? My schedule is, but I'm not having to put lots of money into marketing or ads or something like that. I mean, I just started that just for fun to see what happens, but not because I'm low on patience. I think helping people to the point that they want to send their loved ones to you, friends, family, or otherwise, I think that's a measure of success for sure. Do I feel totally fulfilled and done achieving? No, but that's my personality.
Yeah. I definitely feel like I see that too. Like, I know that was really like, where was I? I was at this grocery store, and there was a woman wearing a shirt that I had screen printed like years ago. And I was
Really?
like, yeah. And it was just like, oh my God, I made that. It went off into the world, and it like did its thing. And now it is here in front of me again. And that, I will agree, is like one of the coolest, like, comeback arounds, like, oh, you know me and I don't know you yet. And
Yeah,
that does feel really fulfilling for sure.
it's super cool.
So what were some struggles that you found yourself in when you were starting your own practice? Like, and if you can be specific, that's really helpful, because the point of this is also to help others learn and maybe avoid any mistakes that, not necessarily mistakes, but just learning opportunities that you would have to share.
One of the first things was finding a freaking space. It's really tough. I mean, it's not that we're necessarily lacking commercial space at this point, but I didn't want to be in a retail spot. Like, I didn't want to be in like a Fry's or a Safeway strip mall, right? And I just knew that about myself, but I wanted it to look a particular way and feel a particular way. So I had to use a second realtor. The first guy that I used was like, "Sorry, there's nothing else." And I was like, well, that's not going to work for me. So I hired somebody else, and he is fantastic. And I recommend anybody to him. His name's Matt Bustamante. He really knows what he's doing, and he will find, if it's out there, he'll find it. He was great. He was super helpful. He knew what he was doing the whole time, and was able to communicate about what I needed, and, could read the contract and all those things. So that was a big part, was like finding my where. And then once I opened, there's a lot of things that you think that you've prepared for that you don't realize you don't have until you go to reach for them and you don't have them, So keeping things in stock is a big deal, like forming some sort of organization method, if not like an auto renew kind of thing, but of course, like, watch your money in case you're spending money you don't need to.
Yeah.
That is totally a thing, like keeping enough supplies in stock. I'm still learning about how to keep track of my injectables and like expired ingredients. I'm like, oh, this expired last week. Like, I can't use this, and so for IVs and vitamin shots, that's still a learning lesson for me. Like, I'm still not great at that. Everything's safe. Everyone's fine. I don't use it if it's expired.
You
just to
check the date. You check the date. I know you
check
do.
the dates. Yes. So that's something. And then I think identifying one of the biggest things was like when you're figuring out everything you need for your space, making a decision between, is it worth the extra dollars, or should I try to find it cheaper somewhere else or try to make it? I think at this point in my life, I will spend the extra dollars to have the exact thing that I want instead of try to pinch pennies. But that's because, in part due to my relationship with money, which is much healthier than it was before. I have an absolute trust that I will be fine and that money will continue to come in. And I like to think of money like breath. It comes in and it goes out, and it comes in and it goes out. And I think that if I had more of a lack mindset and a worry around finances, that I would start to manifest that in my life and in my business. And so then I might be making different decisions, but I don't believe that ever making a decision based out of fear is the right one. So ultimately, like, do I get a picture frame from the Dollar Tree? Maybe, because who cares? But am I going to get a bureau or like a manipulation table from, I don't know, I can't think of anything, something else, outside of like a legitimate source that I will know and trust. And it's not necessarily the best quality, right? Like I want the good quality so that I feel good when I come into my space. Those are a few like major things, I think, really, with growing your practice or your, depending on what you do, like your client base or your customer base. You need to be coming from a good place and not trying to just sell people stuff just to make money. You really should be doing something that you're passionate about or that you're good at or that you care about, because if you don't, it'll show. I think that's why like you and I got along so well, is like we're both just very authentic people. We don't know how to be anyone other than ourselves. We will tell you what's up. And because of that, that's what grew my practice. Is I really do give a shit about my patients, and they can tell, and then they tell other people. And so I didn't struggle so much really with growing my database. That totally just happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's something that I was wondering as you were talking, because I was thinking about, I don't know what it's like, but I have this assumption that when you go to medical school, you're kind of setting yourself up so that like once you're done, you're like, okay, world, I'm a doctor. And now like there's a need for that. So people are just going to come to me. Right. So, and especially like having worked with other practitioners, like potentially you're in a space with them and they have like an overflow need and you're able to pick that up. But what was the experience like of getting like your first few patients? Like, was it people that you knew, or how did you source that?
Yeah, for sure. The beginning were like maybe friends, not so much family, because most of my people are back in the Midwest, but a few friends. And then one of the biggest things that helped my business was BNI, which is Business Networking International. And you basically, you pay to be a member of a chapter, you meet once a week, and you tell your other chapter members what a good referral for you is that week. And so you have this like little sales team force, that promotes you on your behalf so that you don't have to go around convincing people to pay for your services. BNI made a huge difference in my business initially. It still does to some extent, but it's more people from people from people from people instead of BNI itself, those chapter members, and then like their family members. You know what I mean? So, that's initially where they came from. And then, like I said, you take good care of them and then they send their people to you. I've always, for the most part, had a well, that's not true. Social media was not part of it. Is like, to answer that side of that question. I don't know how to do it. I didn't like it. I didn't care about it, so I hired somebody to do it. Like, I think once I opened my practice here a year ago, maybe, or a year and a half ago, or whatever it is now. And I since have a different team who does like website stuff, and they're doing SEO and all of that. But that's just because I wanted to be more legitimate. Like I knew that I needed a presence, but I rarely got people through social media. But that's how some people build their businesses, just through that. It just wasn't, I was always like word of mouth, in person, referral kind of, basis. And now some people will say like, oh, I found you on Google, or I saw your website, or I did see your Instagram or something like that. But it's still mostly word of mouth.
I feel like we've mentioned this before, but that's where it's at. Like a referral based business never goes out of style.
Yeah. Yeah. And that way, the quality of people you're getting, like I say this all the time, like I have students that shadow this practice, which maybe is another answer to your like success question, is like that the school contacts me to ask if they can have students placed here for field observation, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. And I love that. But wait, I forget what I was saying.
That's like another measure of success. Is that what
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that people, no, I totally forget what I was going to say.
People find you.
What did you say before that?
We were talking about referral. So maybe.
Yeah. So funny. Completely. I'm 23 weeks pregnant. So it's just gone. There's just nothing. There's nothing in there.
That's right. Next.
So funny.
No, and I like want to go back to what you were saying about the success thing too, because like I don't know if I've mentioned it on here before, but I love that concept. Like you can't hold like fear and success at the same time. And so when you were talking about money and like how you spend it, it's like you can't be so fearful about like releasing and that it's not going to come back, because that does like limit your ability to be successful. So I really love that little added information you shared. Okay, so yeah, and then I guess like a few of my other like just kind of follow-up questions is, so the school is like reaching out to you, which is cool, because I'm getting like the emails from them still, and like it'll say like, I think there was one, it was like, oh, come talk to, you were like on a panel, and I was like, oh, that's Dr. Katie. Like it was like a while ago, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
that's my doctor. I love her. Yeah, so I would like to know a little bit about like how you're still following up in your industry, and who is someone that you're either like looking towards. It could be like business wise, or it could be like in practice wise, like actually in medicine, but who are you looking to and learning from right now?
Yeah. Good question. So we have to complete continuing med education credits every year. There's like a ton of them that we have to do. So, and that keeps our learning up to date and making sure that we're, like doing the safest things and the new things, all of that. So, that's how the education piece happens. But then, I have a few docs who I'll talk to if I'm stuck on something, because I have a ton of resources, right? I mean, that was one thing that we got in med school, if anything, was like we learned where to go to find something out. And it's not just, Google or WebMD. Please don't use WebMD.
So we'll all die. Everyone's dying.
Everyone has brain cancer. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of mine is Dr. Matt Hernandez at Ethos Integrative, and he's a fantastic physician, and I use him a lot for business building stuff because he created a practice from the ground up that's really thriving. He gained like 4 super legit doctors that have been like in the business for a long time and just went 2 separate ways. Like this one clinic just divided in half basically. And so in my mind, that's a measure of success. If somebody like very well established in the field comes to work for you at your place, like, that's pretty awesome. So he's one of them. And then another is a married couple. They're both naturopathic doctors, Dr. Sarah and Dr. Sean Hessler. And they have their own particular, specialties in the field, and they do more global medicine, but they're both like geniuses. And so if there's something that I can't figure out or I can't find, then I just text them and I'm like, I don't know what's happening. But it's so nice to have mentors, and I hope to be that for, my newer doctors joining, and potentially other people. I've been told by an astrologist and a Bazi reader that in my 30s, and 40s, like ages 35 to 45 or something like that, that I'm going to be traveling and talking about something. I don't know what, but 2 different people said that thing. So we'll see. Maybe I'll be famous.
Yeah, excited to see where you go.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, and then Meesh, do you have anything else you want to add? Because I have one more like ending question, but I didn't know if there was anything. No. Okay, so I like to ask, what is one thing that you would tell like your starting out self from where you are now? Just like one little tidbit that could get you to where you are now, but like faster. I know, take a minute. Pay attention.
Pay attention to what you're earning and what your split is, and whether you think that that's fair, and and also like pay attention to know yourself well enough and know that you don't want to be under somebody's rule or micromanaging. I'm just same thing. I'm that type of personality. I love collaborating, but I do not like being like randomly told what to do for no reason, or like given feedback about like, no, why would you take off that day? Because I want to, because I said so, because I said so. So yeah, I think I spent a lot of time. I don't know that I would have opened my own practice if my fiance, but like boyfriend at the time, if he didn't say, do you know what you're making and how much you're giving to the other doctor, like who is basically renting you the space? I had no idea, because I didn't really care. I just trusted. I just blindly trusted. And not that they did anything messed up or intentionally bad. I don't think that they did. It's what we agreed on. I just would have renegotiated a lot sooner.
Yeah.
So just pay attention, even though you're busy and you're trying to do all the things and life comes and all the stuff, like pay attention. Yeah. This is so fun.
Actually, I have a not at all serious question, but what was your first job?
Ooh.
Like it as an adult or as a child?
Yeah. Like what was your first job?
Technically, I worked under the table when I was 13 years old at a laundromat in Southern California. We worked for cash, and we did a lot of laundry for kids camps. And so we saw like poopy underwear and like pads just stuck in undies, and we had to deal with lots of gross stuff. But I was 13. I worked at a laundromat.
And thus the medical path began.
Now I talk about poop and periods all day long. Yeah. Lifelong trauma does work out.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Dr. Katie, for taking the time to like chat with us. I just like love hearing your story. Like it's so fun. And like, I'm excited to see your practice grow. It just makes me so happy. So.
Thank you so much. You were one of my OGs. I mean, she's one of my earlier patients too. Yeah. Cause we met at Core Power Yoga.
Yeah.
And then you became a patient that way, and then sent me your entire family. So
yeah, I sent everyone to you.
Yeah.
I'm going to put that in the show notes too. Like, okay, if you need a naturopath and you're in Phoenix or nearby, like it's worth the drive. It is. Yeah, it's worth it, because I feel like the quality of care you get from someone who actually listens to you, and like, it makes sense now that you're like with your parents' like history of like their career path. It kind of makes sense that would be built into you to actually just slow down and listen to people. So I feel that a lot, that in your presence, that you're actually listening to what people are saying to you. And that feels really great. So
that's good. That's the goal. Thank you for the opportunity. This was fun.
Yay. Thank you. All right. We'll talk to you later. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
I feel like especially for doctors, referral is so valuable to me, because I mean, I didn't go to a naturopath until 2011 was like the first time that I visited a naturopath. And before that, I just never really went to the doctor. If I had to go to the doctor, I was going to urgent care. Like I wasn't.
Yeah.
But even though the process is longer, it's also more thorough. But it's not like, I think I had this assumption until a couple years ago that like, because I've always had great naturopathic doctors and from going to the school, like you have like such a great experience, that like all naturopathic doctors just care a lot. And it's actually not true. And so I feel like, especially for that, it's not the same as having a referral for like a dentist or just like a regular doctor. It's like, yeah, you want to go to someone that's good, but to go to someone that people that trust them to actually listen to you and care, is just super important, especially when you're experiencing medical problems or something's going on that you don't know about, or you're just not feeling well, like to go to someone and feel heard. And like, oh, you actually care. You're not just trying to throw band-aids at my like major issue is like super important. So I like to hear that. Like, that makes so much sense that that's like the basis of her business. But for her to acknowledge that too, like, oh, referral is like, yeah, of course, because people want to go to people that they trust.
Right. And we've talked about that a lot too, of just like having a referral based business just makes more sense. And it is kind of this like, it is, everything on the internet is fake, and it is so fake where people are like, I have this many followers and I'm so successful, but like you actually don't know how they found those people and how those people found them. And I feel like clearing that up here, it's really interesting to hear from people too of it's actually not the most common way people are finding people. Like, they just found me.
Yeah.
I feel like we hear that a lot from like people trying to sell you social media branding advice. But then when I'm talking to the people that I know in real life that are successful, they're like, it's all word of mouth. Like I did a good job and this person told this person and that person told that person. So
yeah, especially when your business is service based.
Yeah.
Like, how else are you gonna, people don't just, I mean, maybe they do. I don't think people just blindly jump in and say they want to work with someone. I mean, even think about like your business for photography. I can't imagine having someone come spend time with my family that's just random.
Yeah.
Like,
come on into my house.
Right. I would have to know them in some way, or they would have to be recommended in some way, even if they take amazing pictures. I was just talking about this recently, the same with like tattoo artists. Like, how fucking awkward is it when you go to a tattoo appointment, the tattoo artist you're with, you don't know them, or they're in a shit mood, or they just have headphones in the whole time. Like, you're spending hours with this person in very close proximity. Like, I only want like good vibes. So if you're going to be weird vibes, no, thank you.
No, thank you.
Not about it. But my old business mentor used to always say, like, a referral based business will always be successful, even in a down economy, because even if your immediate people can't afford what you're offering, like whatever, they're always going to find some way to keep you going. And you have the opportunity to like flex and like change like what you do or what your offer is or whatever with what's going on in the world. And I just think, I don't know, it's the best way to do it.
I agree.
Organic.
Yeah. And there is something to be said for having like a website and having like your, social media platforms like at least occupied, at least like claimed, I guess, right? Because there is something to that too, where if someone refers me to somebody and then I Google them to find them later on my own time and then they don't have those things, I'm like, that's kind of like weird to me. So it does make sense to have at least like one space that people can check in the digital world. Just be like, are you legit? Are you really here? But not investing that same time to be like, I'm going to find people here. Like, that's maybe not the best use of your time. Just build those real personal connections, I think.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people are on the internet, but like a lot, like I just think about people on the internet that like you see, like what you're exposed to on Instagram, for example, is probably, I mean, we have some like mutual friends and like things that we like are similar, but like what you're seeing as you're scrolling is probably completely different from what I see just based on the algorithm.
Totally.
And like people that I see that might have like 1 million followers, whatever, I just always think it's funny. Like, what does that even fucking mean? Because I could literally go to dinner with 20 people and be like, oh, this person from the internet. And they're like, who? Like that. Okay.
And the same person too. Yeah. With that, like also just even that analogy, right? Like you're at dinner with 20 people, but like, were you able to talk to all 20 people even? Or did you only get to talk to the 3 people sitting next to you? So like that bigger isn't always better too.
Right. And it's just like, I think for as many people as there exists on social media, I just don't think that's the only way, because there's still an entire network of people that exist in like reallife.com that we like miss. Because we're like, I'll just put it on the internet. It's like, yeah, but But what about like the real person that you could actually connect with and talk to right in front of you right now?
Yeah. Yeah. Being brave about talking to people, because that is like a little fear I have. It's a little like, oh, can I take your, like if I see people being like real adorable, it's like awkward. Like, can I just, I'm over here and I just want to take a picture of you guys, and like I'll give you my card, you can just have this photo, but like this moment should be documented for you. And like I saw somebody getting engaged, and like they were too far away for me to like send them that photo, but I like took it anyway because that's like it's this beautiful moment. But like now what do I do with it? But yeah, if I had been a little braver and like yelled to them, hey, do you want this photo?
I mean, where was it? I feel like that is a great instance of like the power of social, right? Is that you could
Right.
post it and be like,
Yeah, totally.
this date, this time, this location.
Yeah.
I saw
And this
this.
couple.
Does anyone know these people?
Yeah. Maybe I'll do that. Yeah.
Just for
Yeah, I don't
fun.
know. Just for fun.
Yeah. I like it.
Okay. Well, thanks for hopping on. I'm going to end this recording situation.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for listening today. We hope Dr. Katie's why was inspiring to all of you. If you are in the position to start a new business, just remember how important it is to know your reasons why you're there, and to also make sure that you're including people as you grow and building your own community person by person. It's so important to keep that referral-based business mindset and to expand with each human connection you make. We are so grateful for this space and for each of you joining us today. You can find Dr. Katie's information for inclusive natural medicine in the show notes. And if you're interested in being a guest yourself, go ahead and send us a quick email. We would love to have you on the show. If you're an entrepreneur and feel like you have something to share, please, please, please reach out. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful week.